Hello, my friends, and welcome to another live with me, Nicole Antoinette. And today I have a special guest for you. Her name is Deborah Blake, and she is the author of many different books. And she is also the author of one of my favorite tarot decks. And I know you guys know this is one of my favorite tarot decks because I use it not only in personal readings, but also on Instagram and the pick a card readings. And it is the Everyday Witch Tarot. And so let me introduce Deborah to you now. So, hi, Deborah.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Despite the fact that it's snowing here in Ohio.
Yes,
What's the weather doing where
snowing
you
here
are?
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I decided that Mother Nature changed April Fool's Day to the 21st and didn't tell us.
You know, that could be right. Well, one of my friends has another theory is that someone ordered a white Christmas on Wish and it finally arrived. I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, they probably ordered it through the post office. So.
They did. Yeah, that would be my guess.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to steal that.
It does. So you are the author of so many fascinating books. And like I was saying, you're the author behind the Everyday Witch Tarot and plenty of different books that are themed with Everyday Witch. And so I'm just curious to know, and I know my viewers are too, what does it mean to you to be a witch?
Well, obviously, the answer to this is very personal because for every witch you meet, they're going to have a slightly different answer.
Absolutely.
For me, it means that I am walking a nature-based path. That I try as much as possible to connect to nature, appreciate nature. I believe in a god and a goddess, and I feel like they are very much a part of my life. I can talk to them without, having to go to somebody else to say, could you ask the goddess what she thinks about this? No, she just won't tell me. And it also is, for me, a spiritual path, one that includes personal responsibility, and a certain amount of, I guess, focus on the way I can be my best possible self, my best possible witch, my best possible person, mom, friend, cat, slave, whatever. And of course, being a witch to me means I believe in magic. I believe that it is a real thing and it works, and that I can use it to make positive changes in my life and in other people's lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're like you were saying, everyone has a different idea of what a witch is. And for the muggles out there, they still sometimes think of, the Wizard of Oz or something like that. And when we talk about, magic, that's another term that can be very fluid and open to interpretation. And I think that when people hear the word magic, they don't always know if we're talking about someone who's pulling a white bunny out of a hat, or
I'm
if
gonna
we're
wiggle
talking
my nose and make things happen. If
yeah,
that worked, oh, that would be so good.
that'd
No,
be wonderful, right? Because,
no, it doesn't work
I
that
don't
way.
know, we say that, but the truth is, would we learn and grow personally if that's how the
That
world
is
works?
true.
I don't
That is
know.
true. Yeah. And for me, magic is uh, another force in the universe. And I honestly believe that someday science will catch up with the witches and they'll be able to identify it and measure it. I think for right now, those of us who are open-minded enough to acknowledge that it's there can tap into it and use that force, whether you consider that it comes, as a gift from God and goddess or the universe, or that it is just something floating around in the air, or that it's a part of us as well as part of the universe. I think that if you have focus and intent and follow through, which is that part of learning that you were
Right.
talking about, um, that you can then tap into this magical quality, whatever it is, and use that to try and achieve things. And one of the things that I always tell people about magic is it isn't just, this. You have to
Right.
put your energy and intent into it, and then you have to follow through. So say you're doing magic for prosperity, which I do. then you're going to have to do your part by following up in a way that makes it easy for prosperity to find you. So say you were looking for the perfect job and you did magic to find the perfect job, you then actually have to go to job interviews, or go to Zoom interviews these days, whatever. But yeah, so it isn't as though you can just say, yeah, I'm going to do this. You do have to do some of the work too. The goddess helps those who help themselves.
That's right. Yeah, and I think one of the ways to look at it is it's almost as if the universe is a river and there's these multiple streams. And so you're the one creating the multiple streams because that's how the universe is able to get its energy to you. So you have to do some of the work. So in your books, and even in the book that accompanies the Everyday Witch Tarot, there's of course this idea of bringing magic into your life every day. And so what would that look like? What are some practical things that people could do to bring magic into their lives every day, to make that a part of their, I guess, everyday rituals?
I call myself the Everyday Witch because for me, it isn't a matter of just being a witch on the full moons or the Sabbats, our holidays. I'm a witch every day. It's how I walk my talk. It's what makes my, it sort of defines my choices in the world. And so for me, it's sometimes means doing a ritual or saying a prayer to the goddess. Sometimes it means composting because I'm trying to walk lightly on the earth. Sometimes it means remembering that the rules that I believe in mean that I need to watch my words and try not to put anything out into the world that is not helpful or appropriate. I suck at that, but I try. I am trying. So for me, that's why I guess I call it a spiritual path as much as a religious belief, although it is both. Because for me, everything I do in my day is flavored by the fact that I am a witch. And magic, like one of my favorite little magical things that I do every day is I make mocha for breakfast. I have this really cool hot chocolate frother thing, and I put my hot chocolate in there, and I put my milk and my one cup of coffee, and then I put a little bit of cinnamon for healing and energy, and then I put a little bit of red pepper for energy and creativity, and a little tiny bit of sugar for sweetness in my life. And of course, chocolate's magical all by itself.
It is.
And so as I do that, I try and focus on the fact that those are the things I'm inviting into my day. And then I drink my hot chocolate, which is wonderful. But it's a very simple way. I love kitchen witchery because it is really a simple way to integrate magic into what you're going to do anyway.
Absolutely. So, you obviously have these fabulous routines, and you found these wonderful, simple yet powerful ways to bring magic into your life. And I think that by doing those rituals, you continue to keep your mind in that state of focus that you want it to be in as well. So it's a really
good. I said, except in the last year.
Wow.
I have to admit, even my witchcraft practice has suffered from the strains of this last crazy year. I mean, I'm still me. I'm still a witch, but my active practice has not been as good, and I've had to let myself be okay with that. I haven't had the focus to do specific magical work. I mean, I still talk to the goddess every morning. I mean, I wake up and I greet the gods, and then before I go to bed, I thank them. That's part of my ritual. That does help keep me, especially the thanking them part, that keeps me appreciative of what's happened in my day. Even some of the things that didn't seem all that great at the time, I thank them for whatever lessons I was supposed to learn from that, even if it's just patience.
Which is something we're always learning, if we're
Oh
honest.
yeah, yeah.
Especially those A-type personalities. Oh,
I
goodness.
don't know what you're talking about at all.
You know, I kind of have a feeling you're lying to me right now, but we're just gonna like move
That's
past
one of
that.
those psychic things, right? You're having
It's
this
one of
psychic
right,
feeling that
right,
I'm a big
right.
fat
Yes,
liar.
has nothing to do with the fact that I know you can be sarcastic sometimes. It's all psychic, all
Yeah,
of it.
that's what it is.
So, what prompted you to start putting your knowledge and your experiences and your stories into your fabulous books?
Well, it was, I had been practicing for, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years, probably. I finally started my own group. And that first year, I really wished that I had a book that had rituals for full moons and new moons and all the Sabbats and some advice for starting out and some guidelines for what to do and what not to do. And I couldn't find one. So after I'd been practicing with my group for a year, Blue Moon Circle, I wrote it and I sent it to Llewellyn and they liked it. Yay. And interestingly enough, I never intended to have a career as a nonfiction writer. I always wanted to write fiction. It was just one of those things that basically the gods kicked my butt and said, do this. That's the real answer. And once I did that and I started getting all these great responses to it, I thought, well, I have another idea. And I think I'm at like 14 books now, not
Nice.
counting the tarot and the oracle and that sort of thing. And that's of course the nonfiction, because I do also write fiction, and I have 16 novels and novellas out. I don't know, something
Very
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
So, for people that are new to this path, what book of yours would you recommend to them? Like, what's a good starter guide?
Well, Circle Covenant Grove is that first one. It's not out through Llewellyn anymore, but I do self-publish it, so you can find it on Amazon. And that's a good one if you want to do group work, or I've had people tell me that they use the rituals anyway, they just convert them for one person. It's a nice, everything set out for a year of practice. If you're really a beginner and you're trying to sort of figure out, what is all this stuff, let's see. I have my bookshelves right behind me. Isn't that handy? So this is the Everyday Witch A to Z, and all it is just little bits about, like, it's alphabetical, A to Z. So there's a thing about kitchen witch, and if you don't know what a kitchen witch is and you don't know what a high priestess is, you can look it up in this book, and that's a really good basic one. Probably my favorite book, my personal favorite, and since it's on its 11th printing, a lot of other people's favorites, is The Goddess is in the Details. And that one is all about how to integrate your spiritual life as a witch with your everyday life as a human being. And even if you don't know everything about being a witch, I mean, there are some basic explanations, and I do go into some detail about what the Sabbats and things like that. But it's a good way to sort of figure out the mindset and maybe to start you on that path of becoming your own best self, which is, hopefully every witch's goal. I mean, I think that's an intrinsic part of witchcraft, is that we are trying to better ourselves. It isn't that you just get to go, oh, God and Goddess, can you give me this stuff? I'm going to light some candles and dance under the moon and have a grand time. I think it is a spiritual path of growth.
Right. Yeah. Growth and healing, because a lot of people who walk this path, they become more attuned to simple things like recycling or using things, purchasing things that they can use more than once. And so I do start to see that that's a very common trend with people as they develop their own practice.
The other thing that I've seen, over the years, is that a lot of people who find their way to Wicca or witchcraft or whatever you want to call it, there's obviously different paths. Many of them did not feel comfortable in whatever religion they grew up in. And some of that was because maybe they didn't fit the idea of, how you were supposed to be. Take
Right.
it from me, they ain't no supposed to be. Um, and so I think a lot of people who come to this path are searching for acceptance and searching for the ability to accept themselves. And I think that's really healing in and of itself. That knowledge that people are not looking at you and saying, you're not okay because you don't believe the same things, or you look different, or your gender identity is different. I mean, not to say that there aren't people, in this, big world of witchcraft who are not nice and welcoming. There are people like that no matter where.
Right.
But I think in general, I find that witchcraft is an extremely welcoming path and very inclusive, and working at becoming more so every day, hopefully.
Right. I agree. So we do have a question here in the chat. Patrick Wilson is asking, are there areas in the world that exude power like Stonehenge and Druid circles? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are places of power, places that are naturally sacred. There are also places that become powerful and sacred through use. Like, my house, we've done a lot of rituals here. My entire property is now sacred space, and people say they can tell the difference. There are some places, Stonehenge, we don't really know what it was used for. There's a lot of theories, but probably there were a lot of rituals done there, and there was a lot of intent behind building it. And it's also possible that it was built in a place that was already powerful, and that's why they built it there.
Hmm. So almost like maybe they already knew that there was some type of power or portal or something
Right.
adding to the energy. How fun.
Well, one of the things that's sort of intriguing if you study history is that when the Christian church moved into Europe, they a lot of times built churches on what had been sacred spaces for the pagans who lived there already. Now, some people think it's because that was the only way to get the pagans to go into their churches, if it was on their sacred space. And some people think it's because they could tell that there was something special about that place. I don't know. I wasn't there that I remember.
We just need to hypnotize you, get you into that past life.
Yeah, well,
You
I've
know,
been to a bunch of them. That one hasn't shown up yet. But yeah, that is. I actually had that happen. I went to hypnosis for many years to work on some physical things, and every once in a while a past life thing would pop up. And I remember the first time it happened, I opened my eyes when we were done, and I looked at the friend who I was working with, and I went, "Is that what I think that was?" And she said, "Well, if it makes you more comfortable, you can think of it as metaphorical." And I went, "Yeah, I don't think so." And that was another really good learning path, because it taught me some things that I didn't learn in the past lives, that this life has given me an opportunity to get right, or better at least.
What are some things that you feel that your craft and your rituals and your unique path have really helped you with?
Um, that's a very deep question. I actually think the most simple answer, and yet for me the most difficult, is faith.
Mm.
I did not get raised particularly in a faith household. I was brought up Jewish, and we were very big on the history and the heritage of being Jewish, but my parents were not particularly religious, and I never connected with that male god. And I went looking, I went to the Unitarian Church for a while, lovely folks, not my kind of thing. Studied Buddhism and Taoism, which are great, but they're less about faith and more about, the mind and the spirit.
Sure.
And so I come from this very rational background, and the first ritual I went to where the gods went, "Hey there," it was kind of a like, oh, all right, my worldview is now a little bit different. And I have had to learn over the years to sometimes, not always, but sometimes let go of trying and just have faith. And so for me, that has been a really huge part of my journey.
So when you say let go and just have faith, do you mean like let go and trust the process and trust that you've done the right things, or just kind of let go and be like, all right, God, Goddess, this is your hands, or maybe a mixture of both?
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sometimes there are things where I do the work and it seems like nothing's happening, and I
Right.
have to say, okay, I've done everything I can do. I can't keep asking and asking and asking for the same thing. I need to just, you know, have faith that either it will happen or that it was never intended to happen. And, you know, like the kid, going, mommy, 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 I want candy, I want candy. Maybe I'm not supposed to have the candy. Always supposed to have the candy, but that's, just an example. And also that things sometimes come to you in a way that wasn't what you expected. Say, I ask for prosperity, and I think I'm asking for um people to go out and buy my jewelry, which I also make on the side. And
Oh,
it
nice.
turns out, yeah, I actually started doing that before I started writing. And it turns out that I'm actually say invited to be on a podcast, and a whole bunch of people see it and go, oh, we should go buy her books. So I think a lot of it has to do with keeping an open mind as to how the things you want are going to come to you. And also remembering that sometimes you can ask and the answer is no.
Right.
That's one of the things I remind people. You can do your magical work, and you can do your follow through, and you can say your God's prayers, you know, and sometimes the answer is no, this is not the right time for this, or no, you haven't done the work yet. You think you've done the work. I got that one quite a few times. You're sure you're ready, but I'm telling you, you're not ready yet. And I think that's a part of faith too, is that when you get that no answer, that you have to sort of take it in, and instead of being angry or frustrated or horribly disappointed, say, okay, what is it I need to learn from this, and what can I do to get a different goal?
Right.
If this is off the table for now, at least, what else should I do instead?
How do you think people can know the difference between a no and a block? Because I find that a lot, where people are like, I'm trying to get this, and there's a block, and they start doing this deep, like,
Mm,
shadow work or inner child healing, and they start, like, you know, any at that point they want something so bad that
right,
any new age guru can tell them to, like, jump 5 times on their head, and they
right.
do it thinking that they're just trying to overcome a block. So how do you think someone can know the difference between, like, the gods in the universe saying no, do not pass go, do not collect $200, and it truly is some type of emotional or subconscious block? Like, what are the signs?
That's a really tricky thing, and I think the simplest way to find out is to ask.
Mm.
I think
Pendulum time.
that, well, you can either go to, if you have a tarot reader you trust, you
Right.
can go to somebody like that, or you can go look within and ask the question and then sit and wait and see what your gut says. But you have to be willing to listen, because
Yeah.
a lot of times the problem is we already know the answer. I mean, I've been reading tarot for a really long time, and I don't think I've ever had a session where somebody didn't say at the end, I was really pretty sure that was the answer. I just needed to hear,
Right.
somebody else say it, or I needed the reinforcement from the universe. I think we usually know the answer already. You can also ask the gods, whatever deity you believe in, or the
Sure.
universe, to send you a sign. And sometimes you get one. And it's often pretty clear, again, if you're willing to keep an open mind, if you're not absolutely determined to believe you're blocked. Sometimes you are blocked,
Right.
but sometimes the best way to get past a block is to stop knocking your head against it. I've done, again, in hypnotherapy, I've done things where I see the block and it's huge and it's impossible. And then if you sort of look, you can walk around it. It's like it's only this big, but it seems immense until you peek around the corner and you're like, oh, I'm not really blocked. I'm just sitting here going, oh, I'm blocked, I'm blocked, I'm blocked, I'm
Right.
blocked. So that's the other thing is sometimes you have to let go for a little while and maybe look at a different slant. Say, okay, I want love. I've been asking and asking, and I've been doing all the things, and I haven't found it. Sometimes you have to back off and go, all right, maybe this isn't the time, or maybe the gods are just waiting for me to shut up and listen so they can go, hey, the guy down the street has been being really nice to you for like the last 2 years, but you were looking over there.
Right.
So, but yeah, it is a tricky one, and sometimes you have to listen to yourself better, and sometimes not the crazy guru who will make you bounce on your head. And there are unfortunately people who will take advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
But sometimes you can ask your friends. I mean, they don't have to be witches. Sometimes you can say, I feel like I'm being blocked about this, and they can say, no, that's a stupid idea. I didn't want to say so because you were so bent on doing it, but maybe that's not a good thing for you. And then you can go, okay, not blocked, just a stupid idea.
Right. All right. So our last question, because we're already coming up on 26 minutes into the show.
Oh my
Time
goodness.
flies when you're having fun, right?
It does.
So this question's kind of in two parts. So it's from Karma Queen. And so she's saying, in regards to our show today, she's saying, as a regular person, I'm loving this. Opening and awakening ritual structure definitely helps life, period. Love and appreciate it. And then down here, she says, can you both recommend best ways to do or a book for that, please? And I think she's referring to, best way to open up the rituals, just kind of that whole little shebang right there.
Well, and I wrote 2 books for these things. One was The Goddesses in the Details, which is the one I mentioned before, and the other one is Everyday Witchcraft, which is all about finding like that 5 minutes here and that 5 minutes there to integrate your spirit in with the rest of your life, because we're all busy, we're all tired, we're all having somebody pull at us here and there. So I think if you can find those little ways, those are the books that I recommend of mine. There are also a few other books, older books. Let me see. Do I have them written in the back of my books? Because my brain, the memory thing. Yeah, the memory thing is not good. But I'm pretty sure I have them in here. Let's see. Well, there's Dorothy Morrison wrote a whole lot of really great ritual books. So if you want ritual books, like she has Everyday Moon Magic, things like that. Marianne Weinstein, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, wrote a book called Positive Magic, Occult Self-Help. And it's much deeper. I mean, this is not a light read, but it is incredibly helpful for finding your way through to your, own deeper self. The one I was thinking of that was on the tip of my tongue is not on my list. It's probably somewhere, where I can't find it because, again, the brain. But there are lots of them. Yeah. So if you buy one of my books, at the back of it, there's always a list of a lot of other books that I recommend, because I have a library of pagan books, Wiccan books, that kind of thing. And I always recommend, the ones that I found the most helpful. But yeah, for me, Everyday Witchcraft, which is a fairly recent one of mine. Let's see, where to go. There it is. This one, that's a really good one for, it says, making time for spirit in a too busy world. And that's pretty much what I think we all struggle with, no matter what path you follow, is trying to find that 5 minutes or 10 minutes to focus, to connect. And so that's got a lot of really simple ways to do that, including things like the kitchen witchery, or just lighting a candle, or taking a walk and admiring nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nature is one of the best ways to connect, I think.
It is. Well, and then even when you're well, that's why I think you like kitchen witchery so much, is because it is that connection. Like, you're touching the food, that's kind of way
And I grow a
holding the
lot of my
earth.
own herbs. I have a big
Yeah.
garden, so I grow a lot of herbs, both for magic and for food. And because I'm frugal, I use them for the same thing. It's like, look, peppermint. I can use that for magic. I can use that for cooking, and it's good for herbal things. Yeah, I don't use like the fancy esoteric herbs. I use the practical, inexpensive ones. I think they work just as well.
They do, yeah. Well, one last thing I do want to mention for those watching and they're asking about, the ritual thing. Actually, Everyday Witch, the tarot cards, and even the Oracle deck, I think is a fascinating ritual to get into because if you're looking to connect, yeah, I have that too. It's around here somewhere. It's down there and I can't reach it. But getting into if you're really looking to connect to spirit and you want a tool, the Everyday Witch Tarot and Oracle deck is so fun for that. Comes with a fantastic book. So you get that book right there. But yeah,
I did not do the pictures. People ask me, and I'm like, oh no.
No, that was Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth Alba is absolutely favorite. Right. One of the things that's really cool about the Oracle is each card has an action with it that you can take, or a divination hint that you can do, or a magical work. So you can do either, you can do all three of them. But if say you want to work on actions, each card has a suggestion. So, every day you can pick one and go, all right, this is what I'm going to do today.
Right. Well, you have similar things in this book, don't you? Because it seems like I recall there being.
I always have suggestions.
Yeah.
I'm full of suggestions.
Well, because because there's even like a note section in the book. So there's like all sorts of things.
And there's also a new little mini hero. Did you see this? Now, this does not have a book with it. This is just if you want to keep it in your pocket and walk around and go, oh, what card? I need a piece of advice.
Need that. I need to add that to my collection.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, they're so much fun.
Awesome. So someone in the chat is asking, how can they acquire your books?
Oh, well, they're everywhere. They're put out by Llewellyn, and so you can go straight to the llewellyn.com site, or you can get them. I'm always a big supporter of your local indie store. If you have a bookstore, whether it's a pagan store or not, you can go in there and ask them to special order it if they don't have it on the shelf. If you are lucky enough to have a local New Age or pagan store, they may actually have some of them. Mine does, because they love me. But you can also get it on Amazon, at Barnes and Noble, and any place. If you have a physical store, if you're lucky enough to have a physical bookstore, if they don't have it, they can special order it for you. It's not a problem. And the same with the tarot. You can get them everywhere, really.
Well, how can people find you? How can they find you on social media? What's your website? What's the best way for them to just keep in touch with all the things you got going on?
Okay, well, my website has links to every place else, so that's a good place to start. And it's the very imaginative DeborahBlakeAuthor.com. And as you can see, my name is spelled Deborah, Deborah, the long biblical way. Named after a warrior and a judge. So I have to be smart and strong. No pressure. Thanks, Mom, Dad. I'm on Facebook as Deborah Blake. And I also have a Deborah Blake author, but because there was another Deborah Blake author, you sort of have to go looking for it. And I'm on Twitter as Deborah Blake, and I'm on Instagram as Deborah Blake author. But yeah, if you want links to things, if you just go to my website, the DeborahBlakeAuthor.com, and I have a Patreon. If you feel supportive, and you can find the links to that on my website as well.
All right, fantastic. Well, Deborah, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have to have you back sometime.
Oh yeah, well it was a blast, and I do have a new book coming out in September, The Eclectic Witch's Book of Shadows, which is going to be really cool. So yeah, we can always talk about that, or maybe sometime we'll come back and do like a little reading swap.
Ooh, that'd be fun. We should do that. I like that idea.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Because you use my favorite cards.
I use them all the time. I've actually gifted this deck to no less than 5 people.
Wow,
And
that's pretty cool. Thank
yeah,
you.
so that's how much I love it. And when people are like, I need a new deck, which one? Especially my friends,
Yeah.
they're like, which one should I get? I'm like, give me your address, I'll send it to you.
I have to confess, it turned out better than we expected, and we had pretty high expectations. Elizabeth's artwork is the most amazing,
Adorable. Like just all
wonderful.
these images are so
Yeah.
freaking just like
Well, I'm
cute.
the one who actually had to give her the description, and then
Mm-hmm.
she did the painting. I'd say, "Oh, well," and she would say, "Well, what if we do it this way?" And I'd go, "Okay, that's great."
Yeah,
But yeah, we had a great team working on it, between Llewellyn and her and me. And honestly, we had so much fun. That's why we ended up doing the Oracle. We got to come up with another project. It was so great. But I really. This was the project of my heart, and I am so pleased that everybody seems to like it, because I wanted to make tarot more accessible. I mean, all my books are about making things accessible,
sure.
making magic accessible, but I wanted to make tarot more comfortable and easier for people to use because, as you know, it's a great tool.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's great for so many different things. So, well, Deborah, thank you so much for joining us. And I will definitely have to have you back soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And for those of you who were joining us today, I want to send a big thanks and heart full of gratitude to you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support of Guiding Echoes. And thank you in advance for following Deborah and supporting her work. Next Thursday, I almost said Tuesday. Next Thursday at the same time, Mike Ricksecker will be joining us yet again. He will be talking about the re-release of his book, A Walk in the Shadows, and his upcoming docuseries, The Shadow Dimension. What is that all about? You'll have to join me on Thursday to find out. Thank you again for watching. Take care. And remember, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I release new videos in the future. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.